So update 4.0 launched for Battlefield 2042 today on April 19th. And while the devs should feel happy that they're now moving in the right direction in terms of bug fixes, tweaking, and actually making the game playable, and I can say I played it quite a bit today and it does feel a lot better. There were a lot of ghost changes, so to speak, that they didn't mention in the patch notes, such as mouse input now feels pretty much like past Battlefield titles. It doesn't feel like a slog anymore, which is absolutely fantastic because that was one of the worst things in Battlefield 2042. The input didn't work properly and it showed, and it felt awful to play. So that's one of the more notable ghost changes they did. There's also many more that they didn't mention in the patch notes, but you'll probably see them for yourselves once you jump in and play. Now, with all this being said, again, a good job on the devs' part for pushing out such a good update that fixes a lot of frustration that players have been having since the launch of Battlefield 2042. However, I do not think that we should commend DICE for doing literally the bare minimum. This, right now, in my opinion, is how the game should have launched 5 months ago. Like, we can all be happy that the game is now a lot better than it was before, and I don't mean this as a personal attack towards any particular devs, but as the company as a whole, this is how you should have launched the product. Not how you launched it 5 months ago. How you launched it 5 months ago was literally a slap in the face of everybody that purchased the game back then. I can't stress this enough. DICE is still a company. They're still there to make money. So don't go clapping your hands and celebrating because they released a good update that makes the game literally playable when it should have been playable at launch. I would still strongly advise to be a little bit skeptical of whatever is to come for the future of Battlefield 2042, regardless of whether or not you are enjoying the current update that they just put out and find the game much more fun to play, which I personally do find the game more fun to play, albeit there's a lot of issues not related to bugs, mostly design choices in the game, but that is neither here nor there. When it comes to opinions on game design choices, that is mostly subjective. Well, at least I think so. There's a lot of things that still need to improve, and had they launched the game in a better state, we probably at this point would have more content, because the game is still very dry on content. There's very few weapons to play with, like 22 weapons in its entirety, at least in All Out Warfare, not counting Portal, with 3 handguns. So that leaves you with literally 19 primary weapons to play with, which is not a whole lot. And obviously, maps are kind of getting pretty stale at this point, especially considering that I personally think the maps are pretty bad. All of them. Not any particular map that I feel as though is like, oh, this one is absolutely fantastic. Most of the maps are pretty poor in map design. And as an infantry player, even if they made the changes to the Nightbird, there's still not a whole lot of cover. They're still wide open, way too wide and large for how many players on the map at any given point, and you are still getting farmed by vehicles 24/7. So again, this update is a step in the right direction. This is how the game should have launched, not how it launched 5 months ago, and you can be happy about the update, but keep being critical of DICE. Don't let shit slide like we did for the past 2 Battlefield titles. That's not how they should release products. That's not how they should treat their community and their customers. That is just not how you do business, and it shows in the player numbers that are still quite low compared to the launch numbers back in November. And before I forget, the game also seems to run slightly better, albeit it doesn't run as good as I would expect out of my computer. I have a pretty good system, Ryzen 7 3800X, with an RTX 3080, 32 gigs of RAM, and I struggle to break 120 FPS with often dips all the way down to 70, and that's on a mix of low to medium settings, so there's still a lot of improvement in terms of optimization they can do to make the game run better, because I would expect better frames from such a setup. So with all that being said, again, a much needed update that fixes a lot of long-standing issues with the game. It makes it much more enjoyable to play. We now have VoIP, which is great, albeit I haven't heard anybody actually use it yet, but this is the direction in which they need to go. They need to keep putting the pedal to the metal in terms of updating the game, improving stuff, giving us quality of life updates, which the UI and HUD had a massive quality of life update. Again, stuff that we had in past Battlefield games, so I can't really commend them for implementing this in the Battlefield 2042, other than just being like, cool, we now have something that we had for the past 3 titles. Good job, I guess. It's still hard to not be pessimistic or skeptical on their ability to push a product in the right direction and make something that is actually worth money. But I digress. Let me know what you think about Update 4.0 in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.